What is an Easter egg may be a question that sounds quite straightforward to you, but what if you just kept asking yourself more and more existential philosophical questions about Easter eggs until you reached the abstract concept of an Easter egg? I'm sure we've all asked ourselves what would happen then at one time or another, right? So in this video, I'll start with the regular painted Easter egg and then keep asking myself questions until I reach the pure abstract concept of an Easter egg. What will that be? I don't know yet. We'll find out. For the first egg, I'm using this wooden egg, some acrylic paints and some brushes. For stage 1 of my Easter egg journey, I started familiar. If you search up Easter egg on Google Images, you get dyed or painted eggs and also some chocolate eggs. And I actually grew up in Italy where we mostly have chocolate eggs, large ones with gifts inside. But for the past decade and a half, I've been painting eggs in the more Polish way. And actually, usually we hard boil the egg and then we dip it in food safe coloring. So it gets dyed in one solid color. But for this exploration of the quintessential Easter egg, I want to take it a step further and actually paint the egg. And I looked at so many inspiration pictures. So obviously this is my own design, incorporating some of my favorite flowers, such as lavender. But it is also meant to look a little bit like the traditional decorated Easter eggs of Eastern Europe. I'm trying to kind of capture what I think of in my head when I think of a decorated Easter egg. A very, very good source for pictures of traditional Easter eggs from various different cultures is this book by Venetia Newell called An Egg at Easter, a folklore study. And it is from 1971, so if you decide to read it, and by the way, you can do so from archive.org, you can borrow the book for free. It's an online library, I'll link below. If you do decide to read it, it does have some language of its times, but it actually has a very interesting overview of the symbolism and the ritualistic uses and the spiritual meanings of the egg in various different cultures, actually. Despite the title, it's not just about Christianity, but it's about the symbolism of eggs all around the world. Reading this book got me started thinking about the egg as a symbol and why it's associated with Easter. I mean, of course, the obvious one is birth, the connotations of birth. And of course, eggs are associated with a lot of creation myths all around the world and stories of the beginning of things. As I am finishing off my first egg, which is a pretty relaxing, pretty zen process, an idea is forming in my head here of a way to take a small, playful step towards abstracting and conceptualizing the Easter egg with a creation question. But first, here's the painted egg. So that's the first egg completed. I'll hold it up here so you can look at it. That's a little lavender bush. Then this kind of floral pattern I improvised, which I feel like actually came out really nice. Then there is a sunflower on the other side. And then some more improvised flowers. And then we have flower at the top and the daisy here at the bottom. Now we're on to our first question, our first egg question, our first question. Not very good at wordplay. And it's perhaps a simple one. Let's start simple. And the question is, chicken or egg? Chicken or egg, what came first? Chicken or egg? In order to make the immortal chicken or egg question physical, I'm going to make a reversible plushie with a chicken on one side, the egg on the other, yes? And here I have some felt. And I found this tutorial online on YouTube by someone called Macaroon, spelled with a Q, called New, Easier, all caps, Reversible Plushie Method, exclamation mark, how to make a koala and cat plush using socks. Now, you may notice from that title that we are not making a koala and cat as Macaroon is, and I'm also not using socks as Macaroon is. So saying that I'm following the tutorial may be slightly stretching it. But as always, I enter this project with great unwarranted amounts of confidence. My toxic trait, I've said before, is that I think I can do anything, so I'll figure it out, even though I'm not using socks. But also, I do have some socks on standby if all goes terribly. So let me start by cutting all of this into the shape that I want it to be in. So we have the chicken and the egg, and now I'm going to be sewing them around like this to make them into sort of like a sock, I guess. And obviously they're not stretchy like the sock is, so I've made them quite large comparatively, because I think, you know, when I fill them, they won't get any bigger. This is going to work. Anyway, I'm going to sew around like this. I probably also have to sew this curved edge. I feel like I'm going to regret the curved edge, but I feel like it doesn't look very egg-like if it's a straight end. Like in Macaroon's video, the cut is just a straight line like that, but I feel like that's not going to be eggy, isn't it? I'm a bit worried that maybe this opening is not large enough. Pull it somehow over the other one. We're going completely off-piste. I'm not following the tutorial. I mean, I have never followed the tutorial from the start, really, because it starts with a sock. So everything I've done so far wasn't in the tutorial. And now I'm doing something different from what the tutorial says as well. So, apologies to Macaroon. I'm just going to wing it, isn't it? If I did this... No, that wouldn't help. I did briefly think whether instead of being a chicken and an egg, I should make it a rabbit and an egg, and just ponder the mysterious question as to why the Easter rabbit brings eggs, since rabbits don't come out of eggs. But then I thought the chicken and egg would be a better philosophical question. But I am using the rabbit idea for something else, and I don't know if you've seen the hints so far. It's not going to be in this video, but the hints are in this video. Keep an eye out. Oh dear. Oh golly. Okay. Okay, we're taking the stuffing out and we're cutting it. It's fine. It's fine. It's alright. Okay. I will be doing this for the foreseeable future. So, goodbye. My take on chicken or egg is a little bit silly. Sure, but it's just one step in the direction of abstraction. Of course, our current understanding is that there is a literal answer to the chicken or egg question, and the answer is egg. The first chicken egg was laid by an almost chicken, and the egg contains some variations that meant that the first chicken came out of it. So, sorry, that is that, but of course we use it metaphorically to mean a situation where you can't quite pinpoint what the starting point is. And it's just one other example of how the egg is part of the way that we conceptualize the world. If we go back to ancient Egypt and ask the question again, go ahead. Chicken or egg, Amy? Chicken or egg? Please tell us. Goose. According to some Egyptologists and to Newell of the book I mentioned before, apparently the chaos goose, another name for the god Seb, laid the first egg, perhaps a golden egg, from which everything began. In a different version, a different god of creation actually creates the world egg from a lump of Nile mud. And so this started my train of thought, thinking about an egg filled with soil, with earth, from which everything can grow. While I let that idea marinate at the back of my head, I actually couldn't stop thinking about the scientific answer to the question. For some reason, hot gluing a felt tail onto a reversible toy chicken really put me in a mood for facts and numbers. But first, the reveal. Alright, so here we go. Which came first? The chicken? Look at it. The chicken or... Whoop, the egg. Okay, I do have more advanced stages. I can't just sit here and turn it inside out over and over again. But it's quite satisfying to do. Put it next to my first egg. The obvious next step in the abstraction of the egg is, of course, a mathematical formula for the shape of an egg. Now, I studied maths a very long time ago, but I am not a mathematician. So I found this article by Narashin et al., Egg and Math, introducing a universal formula for egg shape. They came up with this formula. Y is the y-axis, x is the x-axis. Yeah? I'll try and draw something, and if any mathematicians are watching, I hope I'm correct, and if I'm not, please let me know. I hope I'm reading this correctly. Okay, so obviously I'm freehand drawing this, so you'll have to imagine that the lines are all straight and the egg is symmetrical and whatnot. So let's say that that's the middle of the egg. I'm eyeballing this, I am eyeballing this. Okay, so here's the egg. So this is the x-axis, and that's the y-axis. And we're putting the y-axis in the middle of the length of the egg. B is the maximum egg breadth. Yes, so where it's the widest. So it's like... Imagine that it's a straight line, yeah? Let's imagine it. Okay, this is B. L is the length. Okay, easy peasy. W is the distance between the half point of the length, where the y-axis is, and the breadth point. So like the point where that intersects. So this, yeah? That's W, but I'm going to write it as minus W, because this is the x-axis, right? This is 0, this is plus, this is minus, this is plus, this is minus, yeah? D L over 4. I'm just reading from the article now. Egg diameter at the point of L over 4 from the pointed end. The whole thing is L. This point is L divided by 2, right? Because that's half, and that's L minus L. Yeah? Okay. A picture very similar to this is in the paper, by the way. I'm not just making this up. I mean, it doesn't have all the things in it. That is, sorry, quarter of L, quarter of L, quarter of L, quarter of L. So D is the diameter of the egg at this point. So I guess that's this. Yeah, D L over 4. And hopefully that's all clear now. So now what we do is we turn that into an egg. Now I'm not using software, and I'm not actually using the mathematical formula. I am doing an artistic interpretation of it. So here I have a origami sheet, but I'm using the white side, unusually, instead of the colorful side, and this will be the outside of the egg. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the formula. By following the formula, I will get an egg. So first I'm going to fold at the dotted line. That's step 0, it's fine. Okay, then we're going to find the start of the formula, which is y equals plus or minus b over 12 square root of l squared minus 4x squared over l squared plus 8wx plus 4w squared. And sure enough, that's where it is. And then I wrote times k. So all of this I've called k for here because I couldn't fit all of that, right? So times k, I'm calling everything that comes in these brackets k for the purposes of this folding instructions. Yeah. So we're going to fold that. The next part is k. So we find where k is, which is here. And in k, I basically wrote everything that's in the brackets in a simplified way. So 1 minus all of this part that is above the division line, I'm calling A. Everything that's underneath it, I'm calling B. Everything that's above here, I'm calling C. And everything that's below here, I'm calling D. So that it's possible to write, because obviously as we fold this piece of paper, it's going to get tinier and tinier and tinier. So next folding spot. And then we find where I start writing out what A, B, C, and D are. So first is A, so here we start with A, which is that. So it's square root of 5.5, etc. And it will continue somewhere else, so for now let's fold this. There you go. And then here we have A continued, which is the next bit. Yep. We now have a triangle, and so we're looking now for B, because we completed the first row of A. So now we are on to this, which we're calling B. So B equals square root of 3, etc., etc. Again, we will have to continue, but let's start with that. So we're folding this. And we're folding this. And then let's find the rest of it. So we got as far as the end of the first square root. And sure enough, B continued, picks up where we left off. Okay, and we finished at the end of that. Very sorry, there's supposed to be a bracket there. Sorry. If that has been driving you mad all this time, I'm really sorry. There's supposed to be a bracket there. But there was a bracket here. Now we are going to go to find out what C is. So we have to find C. So that's C, L, open bracket, L squared, plus dot dot dot, L continued. But now we fold it here. Then we find C continued, which is here, and sure enough is HWX. Okay, and then we have to find C continued, which is here. The next bit, yes, you can see that. And then we finished, here we had finished, we closed the bracket for C, so we finished with C, and now we're on to D. D, and that's the start of D. Okay. So we're going to have to find open bracket, L squared, which will be the next bit, and I should have called it D continued. Yes, let's find D continued. We try and fold it as well as we can. That's D continued, and that goes as far as L squared plus. We're looking for 8LW, and here it is, D continued, 8LW. Okay, and then we're finding 4W squared, which is D continued, 4W squared, and then close bracket exit, that's that far. And then, logically, so that's D 4 times continued. I just put plus, I believe. Okay, and 5 times continued, and 2LW squared. I'm going to fold that. Okay, and I'm going to tuck it in there. Then you get it, it's D5 continued. Oh, then you guessed it. D6 continued is over here. Alright, and we find the end, which is D7 continued, which is the end. We know what to do. We blow. And here we have our egg. For the final level of abstraction, I've made a short film, and you know, I'll just show it to you, and you can interpret it however you want. I will talk a little bit about it afterwards, but now I'll just play it. Here's my short film about the concept of an Easter egg. there you go, the Easter egg, a concept. Maybe that made perfect sense to you. It did to me. A lot of the elements came from synthesizing the book. So there was a mention of someone watching an egg dance on stage at Sadler's Wells in the early 19th century. Well, in the late 18th century, writing about it in the early 19th century. So there were elements from that, for example. As you may be able to tell, I had way too much fun with this project. And with that short film, that concludes my adventure in Easter egg land. Or does it? The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed little clues scattered around the video. Oh, could that possibly be an Easter egg? If you didn't notice anything during the video, I'll put a clue in the description below. And with that, the video will actually finish now. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Easter if you celebrate, happy weekend if you don't, and I'll see you on Tuesday.